How's it going, everyone? Yosef back here with another video, and I hope you're having an amazing week so far. Today I am going to give you an update on how my experience has been with my Golf R, because it has been 2 years since I bought the 2023 Mark 8 20th anniversary Golf R, and I'm sure you're probably wondering, how has it been? Has it been reliable? Do I regret it? Are there things that drive me crazy, or do I absolutely still love it? Well, today we are going to answer that question. But before we get into the video, if you're new to the channel, my name is Yosef and I happen to be a car enthusiast with 3 kids, and I used to sell cars in the past. So if you're interested in my perspective, please subscribe and ding that notification bell so you get updates on whenever I publish a new video. All right, now on with the video. Okay, so how has my ownership experience been now that I'm 2 years into owning this Mark 8 Golf R? Well, if you haven't seen the video that I did before about around my year ownership, I'm going to post a link to that up there so you can see some of the things that happened to me in my first year of ownership. But how have things been in the full 2 years? Well, I'll do a quick recap for you. When I first got the car, the bumper was misaligned. For some reason, there was a little gap between the bumper and the headlight. That was really frustrating. I got that fixed pretty quickly, and I noticed there was a little hair, piece of plastic type of thing stuck in one of the headlights. That was really frustrating. I couldn't get that covered under warranty, unfortunately. But since then, I've also had a gasket that needed to be replaced in the engine manifold type situation. Don't know exactly what that was, but that was covered under warranty as well. And then I had my first real frustrating moment, and that was I had my infotainment system go a little crazy. So what happened was, when I get in the car, turned it on, the infotainment system would go absolutely berserk. All the things were pressed and the screens were changing, and it was really frustrating. So that was annoying. I had to take it into the dealer. They diagnosed it, gave me a software update. And then I found out that my sunroof wouldn't close. I would open it and it wouldn't close. And I had to take it back to the dealer. And they came back to me and said, we have to replace the entire sunroof module. And it was also calling the SOS number, by the way. That was really annoying too. So that was all replaced under warranty. And then I found out that when I washed the car, water was getting into the rear passenger taillight. So I had to go back to the dealer again, and I got that taillight replaced. And after I finished with that, I thought, this must be it. I must be done. But no, the driver's side taillight decided to suffer from the same issue. So I had to get my driver's side taillight also replaced. That was covered under warranty too, so thankfully no issues there. And then I took it on a road trip. You may have seen that video. If you haven't, I'll post a link for it up here as well. I drove to South Florida, and 10 minutes before I got onto my train, which was going to take me 15 hours of that journey in a nice enclosed space, I got a crack in my windshield. That unfortunately was not an issue with the car, not a problem. Normally people get stone chips and cracks in windshields, but that was just some other thing that I had to get replaced, and it cost me about $500 to get that windshield replaced. Other than that, basic maintenance, I've taken it in for service, so I've had oil changes done, I've done my tire rotations, things like that. I've done 3 oil changes so far. Each oil change was about 200 bucks, and that's basically it. Other than that, no other money was spent on the Golf R other than my modifications and things that I've done. So generally speaking, not too bad. I've heard some really big horror stories from other people about their Golf Rs. Thankfully, I haven't experienced that. So the question is, do I still love it? Is it something that I really enjoy, that still puts a smile on my face every time I get in it? Or has my perception of the Golf R been tainted because of, well, we'll call it the few challenges that I've had? And I've gone into this eyes wide open. I knew getting a Golf R would cause some challenges, that I'd have some maintenance issues and infotainment woes because, well, it's the first model year of a brand new car and brand new infotainment system and a brand new body style. So things were definitely bound to go wrong. But do I still love it? Well, let's go for a quick drive and I'll share my thoughts. Okay, so the big question, do I still love my Golf R, or do I regret it after having all of these difficulties, all of these experiences that I've had to deal with? Well, in short, I still love it. I'm sure you expected me to say that, but you know what? I think owning a car, it comes with some sacrifice, especially when you're buying something like this. And I wanted to give you my honest opinion about it because it's not perfect, and there are some days that I'm very frustrated and some days that I walk into the car and, you know, I go for a drive and it just really puts a smile on my face because I love it and I enjoy having something like this. So let's talk about this in a little more detail. So I knew that I really wanted to buy a Golf R, and for years I always thought it'd be great to have a Golf and it would be so cool to own. And I've always done my research around them and seen the different generations come and go, and I can never afford it, and it was always really frustrating that I didn't have a manual transmission car that I could own. And so when I finally got into a position where I could buy this car, it really excited me. It really gave me a sense of accomplishment. And I was thrilled about it, even though I had to wait so long for me to even get the car. Knowing that it was on its way, knowing that I was gonna get it, that was just everything. And then I finally got it, and it was so much fun. It was so cool to own my first new car and get to drive another manual transmission performance car. I never really had a chance to own something like this. And it was so special because it was finally mine. And I knew after reading a lot of the reports and what people have said who own these things in Europe that there were some issues. People hated the infotainment system right away. Some people didn't even like the styling. And I thought, you know what, I'm gonna reserve my judgment until I actually own the car, because a lot of times people exaggerate issues. You know, they just try to get attention for clickbaiting and stuff like that. And I just thought, you know what, let me own the car and then I'll decide if I really like it, or if it doesn't work out, if I find that I don't enjoy the driving position or the performance of it, or the manual transmission sucks, then I can always sell it and get something else. But I got the car and I started driving it, and instantly I knew that I made the right decision. And you know that you've made the right decision when you park it somewhere and you have to look back just to remind yourself of your awesome car that you have. And for me, that meant a lot. You know, I really enjoyed the experience of having the manual transmission, and even though it may not be the notchiest and coolest and, I don't know, most exciting manual transmission in the world, it still drives really, really well. And for somebody who's not going on a racetrack and is not doing any really performance-oriented driving, this manual transmission is perfect. It's weighted nicely now that I have also this weighted shift knob, but it's weighted nicely. The throws aren't terribly long. I know a lot of people complain about that. And overall, it's set up really well. I love these bucket seats. I find them really cool, having the integrated headrests, and I love all the ambient lighting and the fact that we've got carbon fiber in here. And I think that the overall infotainment and sort of design of this interior is really nice. It's modern, it's not too gimmicky, and it's not so Spartan in here that you don't have anything. I would like to have some physical buttons for things, yes, absolutely, but you know, it is what it is. I knew what I was getting into, and to be honest with you, all the haptic feedback stuff, it doesn't really bother me as much as what most people say. And I've made videos about this before. Honestly, I get along with this car pretty well. The few things that still frustrate me, when you get in the car, it really takes a couple minutes for the infotainment system to load. And that's something that really in a modern car should not be the case. It should be able to load up right away, almost be instantaneous. It takes a minute for my phone to connect, but when it does connect, everything works really seamlessly. And I love the fact that when I put in something in the navigation, even in Waze, I still get it in my heads-up display. I haven't seen that in really any other vehicle that I've tested, and maybe that's just me not doing a thorough enough test, I don't know, but I love the fact that I get my navigation, even with Waze, in my heads-up display. So that is a huge plus. And to be honest with you, I don't interact with the infotainment system all that much. I put on my Waze. If I want music, I'm streaming through my phone typically, and that's really it. You know, I use the voice controls, climate control, I set it and pretty much leave it, so I don't really play around with that too much. And it's really just the drive modes. And I've got the button over here, the R button, which you can click on to get it easier. But I do find that when I get in the car and I want to go for a drive in my special Nürburgring mode, it always takes a minute for the car to kind of get into its thing and load the infotainment system, and then I can press the button and get it in the mode that I want. I wish that was something that we can get a software update for, so that it would always be in that mode, but that's okay. These are small little details. And overall, the car drives really, really nicely. The suspension is tuned perfectly for my liking in that Nürburgring mode. I find it to be really comfortable. It's not super harsh, but you know, it's it's, again, so nice to have all of that adaptability with the suspension. If you want it harder, you can do that. If you want it softer, you can do that too. And it's just so nice to have that configurability in a car like this. And the visibility is great. And I have to say the practicality is amazing. I mean, I take my kids in here, I pick them up from school, drop them off, I do the groceries, you know, I do my photography gigs, and I can stick all of my stuff in the trunk without any issue. It's as practical as you could possibly want a vehicle like this. And the fact that I still get 315 horsepower and the all-wheel drive system is phenomenal. You know, that's really all I could have expected and want from a car. So for the general stuff and for the fun stuff, it's been really, really great. And yes, it's taken a lot of time out of my life going to the dealership every time I need to get something fixed or replaced under warranty, or with the software updates, or dealing with any of that stuff. But you know what? It could be a lot worse. And I try to use that perspective when I have to deal with something and I have to go back to the dealer. I always remind myself, you know, Yosef, you're so lucky that you get to own this car and drive it every day. So it's worth putting up with a few minor issues. And really, they have been relatively minor. The sunroof thing was really a problem, and the fact that it was calling SOS, that was inexcusable. But other than that, everything else is pretty normal. I know a lot of people that buy brand new cars and, you know, they have really big transmission problems, or they have electrical issues where, you know, the car has to sit at the dealership for months and they don't even get to drive the car or experience it because it's stuck at a dealership getting fixed, and sometimes they can't even find the problem. So, you know, I have to consider myself pretty lucky that I haven't had any major issues. Now, I know I haven't driven that much. There are 6,800 miles on the odometer, which is somewhere around 10,500, 10,800 kilometers, something like that. Not a lot for 2 years of driving, but honestly, I don't need to drive this a crazy amount to be able to know that, you know, it's a great driving car and I'm not going to have any crazy things go wrong with it as long as I take care of it. And I think that's the biggest thing. A lot of people look online, you know, they see all the reviews, and when you're trying to search up, should you buy this car, should you not buy this car, you're always going to see the bad stuff. People are always going to complain about whatever it is that's gone wrong, and that's all you're going to see. And it's not always the case. You know, you're always going to find the negatives, but how many people go out there and say, you know, I really love this car, it's amazing, I really enjoy it. Everyone's always focused on the bad stuff because that's what gets the attention. And I know if I own this car for the next 4 or 5 years, I probably won't have any other major surprises. Knock on wood. We'll make another video about that when the time comes. But, you know, I take care of this thing. I do the oil changes early. I don't drive it crazy hard. You know, I try to take care of it in the best way that I can, be as preventative as I can in terms of the maintenance. And I think with any modern car, as long as you take care of it, as long as you do things when they're supposed to be done, the likelihood of major things going wrong are pretty slim. Yes, there are brands that are more prone for reliability issues and having more problems, but generally speaking, if you take care of things and you keep it, you know, well maintained and you don't do anything crazy, it should be fine. And that's not to say that you'll never have any issues. I don't want you to get the wrong idea, but some cars have problems, and sometimes it's unique to that individual car that you got, and that really sucks. And sometimes you have situations where a whole batch go wrong, but that's the nature of the car business. You can buy the most reliable car brands and still have problems, or you can buy something that's known to be less reliable and have a flawless experience. So it really depends on the situation, but don't always be so focused on the negative stuff, and don't let that deter you from getting a car that maybe you really want, or that you've always thought would be really fun to own, just because it's known to be a little bit more problematic. When you buy a car, always do your research and always go eyes wide open. And that to me is the most important lesson. You know, if I would have gone in not knowing that I might have some of these issues, I probably would have taken the car back or sold it right after, because it would have driven me crazy. But I knew that. And for me, it was worth it. I wanted a car that had all of these elements in it, that could do all the things that I wanted it to do, and I'm honestly very satisfied with it. So I'm not going to belabor this. I think you get the picture. I really love my Golf R, and I don't think there's anything that I would replace it with, at least not at the moment. You know, maybe if I had a lot more money, or I didn't have to worry about taking the kids everywhere with it, There are definitely some performance cars that I would love to get, but you know what? This car has been great, and for what it is, I can't complain. And after 2 years of driving, the amount that I've driven, even though it's not too much, I still absolutely love it. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch the video. I really appreciate it. I hope you found this helpful. And for all of you people on the fence deciding, should I get a Mark 8 or a Mark 8.5? I actually really like the Mark 8. I like some things with the 8.5. I think some of the designs exterior wise are really cool and a nice little upgrade from the Mark 8, but where you spend most of your time on the interior, I love the way this looks. It's integrated well, and it does everything that I want it to do. So thank you again for watching. Really appreciate it, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your week, and I'll catch you in the next video.